Welcome back to Houston Life. On October 11th, one Houstonian will test himself in the UFC octagon, fighting on the main card as a featherweight, but he'll have to travel to Brazil in order to compete. Now, we're hoping he comes back with a W, but we're also already so proud of him. Michael Aswell Jr., also known as the Texas Kid. Welcome to Houston Life.
Thank you so much for having me. This is an honor.
Okay, well, this is a super cool thing that you're doing, and it's taken a lot of preparation. Catch people up in case they don't know. You're a UFC fighter.
Right.
They said, hey, will you go to Brazil to fight this guy who's also from Brazil? And you're going. So tell me a little bit about this journey.
Yeah, so it all started when I was 17. That's when I had my first ever MMA fight, and I actually lost it. And that's kind of when I knew, like, okay, this is something I want to do. And after that, it was kind of all in. I told myself I wanted to be in the UFC. This is what I wanted. I tried to accomplish all my goals, and so far we're getting there. So I made my debut in May, and the end of the year. The end of the month. On 3 days' notice.
Wow.
So they called me on Tuesday. They said, hey, do you want to fight in the UFC? Up a weight class at 155. And I said, absolutely, I would love to. So I flew to Vegas, had a great fight. And this time, at least they gave me, about 7 weeks' notice. My manager called me. I'm on the treadmill. He said, what are you doing? I said, just hanging, just chilling. And he said, yeah, well, Lucas Almeida, October 11th in Brazil. I said, absolutely. And let me tell my coaches. And rest is history. Now we're 9 days out. So 9
days out. Are you excited? I know you're cutting weight. What is going on? What do these last couple of days of preparation look like for you?
Yeah, just kind of staying sharp. Making sure that everything's feeling good, body's feeling good, moving well, and like you said, we're getting the weight cut. So making sure I'm eating right, making sure I'm drinking the right amount of water. And just, checking all the boxes, kind of crossing my T's, dotting my I's, training at the gym, and getting ready. So we leave Sunday to Brazil, and then so we'll get in Monday morning, I believe, at 8 a.m.
Wow. And you are traveling. I mean, you're taking some people. You're not going to have this hometown crowd like you would if the fight was here in Houston or Texas or even just in the U.S. But you are traveling with your mom, your girlfriend, your team, your head coach. So you will have some support there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the UFC pays for me and then one coach, and then the other two, kind of, it comes out of your check. But yeah, so my head coach, Daniel Pineda, will be with me. My other coach, Artinus Young, my striking coach, will be there. And then my teammate, Justice Torres, is going to be there. So I know it's going to be exciting for him. My mom, my sister, my girlfriend, and then her boyfriend, they all work in the airline, so they're able to get some tickets.
Get it done.
The tickets are expensive. It's hard. It's hard to go to Brazil, and I'm blessed, and I never would have thought, especially growing up in Second Ward, downtown, that I'd be fighting for the UFC and then traveling the world on someone else's dime. So it's been a blessing, and I'm honored, and I'm excited, and I'm ready, and I feel great.
Well, you know what? That grit growing up in Second Ward. I mean, you're kind of known for someone who has never lost by submission
or knockout
or a knockout. Or a KO. So that says a lot about you. How much has Houston and where you're from influenced your style of fighting and just who you are as a person?
No, I think it's everything. I think it's who I am is Houston. They call me the Texas Kid. I think really embrace everything that comes with Houston and Texas. And I grew up my whole life in Second Ward. I trained in Second Ward with Saul Solis at Metro Fight Club. He sadly passed away in 2020, but he kind of molded who I am. Of course, my school where I grew up, Our Lady of Guadalupe, in downtown, and just the environment, the vibes. My family's restaurant was always across the street. I wake up and see my aunt, and she did a lot of great things for the community, especially the Hispanic community, and it's just great. I'm blessed to be able to do what I love and inspire other people and try to help, and I'm glad for the opportunities I've been given.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting that you said when you had your first fight and lost, that's when you knew that's what you wanted to do. Because most people, if they don't really adapt to something right away, or they don't, if they aren't immediately winning at it, they're going to back away and they're going to try something else. What is it about the contact sports, the MMA, the jiu-jitsu that you love? What is it that you love?
Yeah, I think I grew up doing every sport. I played football, baseball, basketball, you name it, growing up, and I excelled, just because I think I worked really hard. I was always doing the extra. I was always taking it another mile, So when I started doing jiu-jitsu at 14, it was the first time I did an individual sport. and it was a little different. It was like, if I mess up, it's on me. You know, no one else to blame but yourself. And I think I really resonated with that, and I kind of ran with it and was competing, you know, and started wrestling in high school. And once I started wrestling, kind of found my love back to the gym. My coach, you know, he trained a lot of world champions, and he told me, he said, I don't mess around, I don't BS, and I think you have what it takes to be a champion. And I was like 210 pounds, I think, at the time. I was playing football. You know, I was trying to get big, and you know, I was on varsity and stuff. And he told me, if you can cut down to 145, I'll let you fight for me. And I said, absolutely. You know, I think something about me, I'm just super competitive. And you give me something to do, or you give me a challenge, I'm going to try to figure out how to do it and figure it out. Well,
the lightweight division is a challenge in itself, right? Because it's stacked with all this talent. Where do you see yourself fitting into this division in the next year? What is your future? What do your goals look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, you know, because I fought at lightweight my first fight. I'm going down to featherweight this fight. So it's like I can bounce around at both if I want to. But I think I'm just taking it one fight at a time. You know, I want to showcase my skills October 11th. They give me Lucas Almeida, who's very, you know, talented guy. He's had 5 fights already in the UFC. So, you know, in Brazil, he's a hometown guy.
Yes.
So I'm going to go play the villain and, you know, have to go
ruin
in there.
His night.
And that's it. And be gritty and, you know, ruin his night and change mine and my family's. You know, that's what I'm here to do. And I've seen it happen. My buddy at my gym is fighting for the world title in December. So, you know, it's happening in front of your face. It's, you know it's attainable. You can go and grab it and do anything you put your mind to, you know.
Well, we just saw the video of what you can do in that ring, and you can ruin someone's night. So Michael Aswell Jr., thank you so much. I want to remind our Houston lifers that you can catch Michael. You can still support him from afar. He's going to be on that UFC main card Saturday, October 11th. Okay, you can stream it. You can stream it on ESPN Plus, and we're going to put all of our details to connect you with Michael, if that's what you want, on HoustonLife.tv.
Let's do it.
All right, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Houston Life.